Welcome to the Man Up channel. I am your host, Bob Buckland, and with me again today is John Font.
Hey, how we doing, everybody?
And today we're going to be talking about all things Disney and Disney related.
Oh, Disney. It used to be just fun as a kid. You could just watch shows and it was okay, but now...
Yes, everything used to be funny and you were allowed to use your imagination, but with the way things are getting today, you just can't do that no more.
Nope. Disney Plus warns viewers about past racism, but not as well as Warner Brothers.
What? So anyway, this is a story, and it shows a couple of cartoons made almost 100 years ago now.
It's hard to believe.
I know.
We were watching some old cartoons back in our day.
The first one, DUMBO, which was made in 1948. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
God, that's been 80 years ago this cartoon's been on, and now it's suddenly racist, and we got to have a disclaimer for it.
And I think that's... Because none of us are able to figure that out.
So many warnings. Oh, it's for the kids. You don't want to make kids racist. And, I remember watching this for the kids. And you know why I didn't like this? Do you want to know why I didn't like Dumbo?
Why didn't you like Dumbo?
Pink elephants.
Amen. No, truthfully, those things bothered me for years.
They still creep me out.
I had terrible.
A lot of people I talk to and I go, hey, you know what I don't like about Dumbo? They go pink elephants. We're all on the same page.
That whole dream psychedelic thing was just terrible.
It was. It was creepy. It was just the things of night. That's saying a lot for Disney. All of the stuff that Disney has that causes you nightmares, it is pink elephants.
But that's not why the disclaimer is there.
It should be.
It's not about being racist against pink elephants.
It should be.
I have a natural affinity not for pink elephants.
Okay. So if the warning's not for pink elephants, what is the warning for?
The warning is for crows because they're black. And
yes,
there was a jab actually taken supposedly from 1941, by the way. It was when Dumbo came out. That was a few years ago. 1941. World War II is still going on. It's a long time. The scene relies on a series of racist stereotypes to get through the song, including the name of the lead character whose name is Jim Crow, which was a mocking term used to insult black men. The scene is still in the version streaming on Disney Plus. Still, there's no disclaimer with the actual video window.
As a kid, I never once picked up on that being racist. That was by far the best song in the entire movie is when those crows start singing. It was still probably one of my favorite songs. It has nothing to do with them taking out of context slurs or whatever they're trying to debate and get offended about. They're just trying to find things to get offended about.
Well, I really liked what you said as far as like the Peter Pan thing with the Indians say some stuff and there's some other things, but on the one hand, we want to celebrate cultural diversity, but at the same time, we don't want to be diverse.
Yeah, that was the next cartoon we were going to talk about was Peter Pan, which was 1954, so not too far after Dumbo. Before even looking at this article, the only thing I could think of that could get misconstrued was the scenes with the Native Americans on it when they sing, what was that, the Why is the Red Man Red?
Yeah.
And that was just a fun little song. You have to be looking to get offended by this.
Well, I think that's where many of these problems are. It has lots less to do with what is actually going on and how much it actually affects and makes those people feel bad, as opposed to trying to pretend, I guess, that America's been like this all along, or that we hated those people. It was never that way. I always joked I was never racist because there were only white people in our town, so I hated some of them too. Does that count?
I'm sure there's a joke there.
Somewhere.
I don't think we're going to take it, though.
But generally speaking, they were saying that some subscribing are asked Disney to do more and release more controversial titles with a much more direct disclaimer. Disney's Song of the South, a 1946 movie set on a plantation in Georgia after the Civil War, is considered extremely controversial for its depictions of black people and is not currently streaming. So people are asking to see this show that they know is controversial, quote unquote, and they're still asking the question, is Disney doing enough? So, would you let your children watch any of these movies if there was more of a disclaimer or less of a disclaimer, or if there was no disclaimer at all?
Well, my problem with this is that we are currently almost at a war with ourselves, because on the one hand, we want to say we're not racist, but on the other hand, we're trying to rewrite our history that we're not. And you can't do that. We have to acknowledge that once upon a time, yes, racists exist. It is part of our history. And we try to rewrite that and forget that, we run the chance of it happening all over again. We need to recognize it and learn from it.
Well, and two, I think some is about cultural racism and some is about personal racism. You can't fix everyone's personal view of racism. People still are going to deal with that depending on whether you're white or black. They're just going to do that. You can't. You can do your best to change people's mind, but at the end of the day, they have to make their own decision. According to CBS Kids News, the disclaimer isn't enough. Forrest Lussing, a 10-year-old from New Minis, said he would have no idea that the disclaimer means and probably wouldn't catch his attention. Quote, "I'm one of those people who doesn't even bother reading those things," he admitted.
I wouldn't.
When's the last time you read anything as an adult, let alone as a kid?
Right?
Does anyone out there, somebody can put their hand up, anybody, has anyone read the FBI disclaimer warning at the beginning of any video you've ever watched?
Never, ever.
No, I don't know what. I think it says you'll go to jail for like 10 years. Forrest's classmate at Booker School, Jacob Townsend, 10, said he also wouldn't understand the disclaimer and that it could be more direct. If you're a kid and you don't know big words, you might not understand what it means. Instead, it could just say, "This might contain racist stuff," said Jacob. We need to interview more 10-year-olds. This is fascinating. He added that a big red warning quote would be more likely to grab his attention. I love 10-year-olds. They're so great. Forrest suggested that either an audio disclaimer or something more interactive. Quote, "It could give a warning before the scene that could say the next scene contains racist content, and you'd actually have to acknowledge it by pressing a button instead of skipping it," said Forrest.
You know what? I'm still sticking with my guns here and saying we don't need the disclaimers. We don't need this. I would consider it more of active parenting. Explain to your kids why we don't do this. Like when HBO tried to cancel Gone with the Wind, one of the best movies ever, because there was a black maid or something in it. It's like, are you serious?
So, did you hear that the new Ariel is going to be a black Little Mermaid?
I did. And guess what? I could care less. I didn't care for The Little Mermaid as a cartoon. I don't care about it now.
Right? This is not racism. We just want an Ariel that looks like the Ariel we love. Oh, people. Negative comments also appeared in the Facebook group with more than 50,000 members, they said. CBS News for Kids. We're going to start reporting more from CBS News for Kids, especially considering they publish 10-year-olds. I love it. We're going to start quoting more 10-year-olds.
Why not? It sounds like a fun time. But, like
Sandhu, who was ethnically East Indian, said she didn't see anybody on TV who looked like her until she was 12 years old, and it made it hard to imagine a future in entertainment business. But there's room for two Ariels, she said. Cartoon Ariel isn't going anywhere.
Yep, and then we have cartoons like Pocahontas that features, she was supposed to be 12 in real life, and she was not 12 in the cartoons.
No. And
not even close.
My wife's watching a show tonight. She's watching Legacies with all kinds of, vampires and werewolves and witches and people running around doing things. And a guy gets shot with an arrow, and she's like, that wouldn't kill him. And I'm like, it's a show. He'll probably die. She's like, it's not even a fatal wound. It probably just went through his large intestines. I'm like, but it's a show. He probably still gonna die. She's like, all he'd have to do is break off the end and pull the arrow out. I'm like, they lost with artistic license, like the beginning of the show when they started off with werewolves and vampires. So I think we need to give people a little bit of artistic license. I think that's okay. And I think it's okay to think that other people's worldviews are a little different than ours. And I think it's okay to embrace cultural differences. Asians make better Chinese food than I do. And I'm happy to eat it.
Yeah, can you imagine anything by Mel Brooks being made today?
Yes. It could be very terrible very quickly. It's true. I bet a 10-year-old could say all kinds of things. I had no idea that he was going to pull his intestines out of that guy. And wrap them around a stick.
Yeah. We need more movies like Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs and anything else that comes with Mel Brooks. That's what we need today.
It's true. That guy was dedicated. He was willing to wear the gold Yoda paint even though he broke out in hives. Talk about a director, actor, writer. He even played 4 roles in that movie.
That was such a great movie, though. I still love it.
And who's the guy that does the Medea movies? He does the same thing.
Oh, Tyler Perry.
Yes, Tyler Perry. That guy gets props. When you're playing 3-4 roles in a movie, and Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm.
What was that guy's name? He played 4 or 5 roles.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers.
But,
who wants to go shoot a scene 4 times so you can be in it all 4 times?
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. That's true.
Oh my gosh, that was so, what was that? I think it was Coming to America, to where he played everyone in that barber scene.
That was great. But I mean, those are great movies with great content, all the same person, and they're not racist.
It's amazing, right? Because heck, I think he even, what was that? I think he played even a Jewish guy in Coming to America.
Yeah.
But yet, that's all okay.
Right. Because he was black. No,
I
I think more and more people try to divide us over silly little things. I think the mask thing has been a thing to divide us over. We got phone calls of people who say that we shouldn't have to wear masks, and we get phone calls from people who say that we have to wear masks, and people are like they were wearing it over their nose, and we got other people saying who they were wearing it over their eyes, and I wasn't happy they were making my food blind.
And if you don't, you get tased.
Right. Tase them, bro. Tase me, please, and drag me out of my job. So, back to the disclaimer. Bob, do you think they're enough? Or do you think we need more disclaimers? Or do you think it really even matters?
Once again, I don't think it matters. like you said before, no one's actually going to read them. They're just going to wait for the movie to start. Because guess what? That's all it is. We just want to be entertained for 90 minutes.
When's the last time you saw your 10-year-old sit and read the TV screen for any reason?
Never.
Never. There we go. I'm right with that. I don't think I have ever seen my kids read anything on TV.
Well, as we start our close, it's amazing what we can be offended by today. And you know what? Like we were talking before, if I wanted to get offended by a cartoon being a bald white guy that likes hamburgers, I would have to get offense to the old Popeye cartoons. Let's cancel Wimpy. Let's start that movement. Cancel Wimpy.
Cancel Wimpy. I agree. Bald white guys
they're the worst.
They're worst. The worst.
How dare they portray me wanting to kill animals and make hamburgers out of them?
No, so not true. And even if it was true, it shouldn't be.
Right?
Right? And even if it shouldn't be, it doesn't mean they have to put it on TV.
Exactly. They're just trying to make me look bad.
Meanwhile, the Bible said Darth Vader is black. What the world?
Just a little burnt.
Content on the internet. Just remember, everything in the internet is true.
And with that, this is the Man Up channel. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, and we will love to get a conversation going. We'll catch you later.
Have a good day, guys. Take care.